reader, ladies and gentlemen, is Patrick Marsh, Patrick W. Marsh, who writes sci-fi and monster fiction, and he's going to be reading to us from his new book, which looks awesome, by the way.
All right, so my name is Patrick W. Marsh. I write about monsters, plain and simple. I'm a relatively nice person for the most part. I've got a wife and kids, a dog, some goldfish, stuff like that. Today I'm reading from Monsters and Monsters Everywhere, which just came out in the fall. It's a great collection of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And at the end of the book is my favorite part, where I included a section called What the Hell Was I Thinking?, where I talk about what was going through my mind with each short story and kind of what I was doing. Some of it's really basic, like it's basically like fan fiction for Chrono Trigger or something obscure like that. And other stuff is more like thoughtful. But the story I'm going to read is called Fairy Lake, and it's based on a real lake in Minnesota. It's just north of Sauk Center, and it's a werewolf story. I mean, we're right before Halloween, so here we go. Fairy Lake. You see, I don't want to change. I don't want to. I hate myself for it. The leaves change and so do I. Watch for it. I won't remember it. I won't remember what I've become until it's too late, the man said. He was bent over the edge of the lake. The water had a frosty clarity to it, like it was a patch of silver. It was fall. The sky was overcast. The leaves were full of fire for the season. Orange, yellow, brown, and red checkered the eaves like the surface of the sun had been turned into paper. I hate this time of year. I hate it. I hate it when the leaves go, the man said. He was pale, thin, and balding. His clothes had a hidden cloud of sweat steaming off of them. There were other fluids coming out of his pores, too. Lost bile and blood from old legends were seeping out, like water out of a stuffed storm drain. His body was changing drastically. He wasn't like other people, but he always wanted to be. I mean, I'm getting married next year. What am I supposed to tell my wife when this happens? What am I going to tell her about why I came to this goddamn lake in northern Minnesota? I don't know why I'm like this. I can't explain it, the man said. He turned to the tips of some trees behind him. There was a flock of crows sitting on the branches. They looked like scattered ink. The birds cawed and shuffled as the man started to contort against a supernatural posture, taking over his spine. He was being crunched up by it. The crows knew the man. They knew what he was becoming. Every year, he would come to this lake and molt into a wolf. His skin would fall off like wet clay. Hair would fill in every patch of muscle and bone. The werewolf coat was pointed, sharp, and fibrous. The color wasn't gray, dust, or black, but shades of blue, red, and yellow. The monster looked like he just stepped out of a sample of the light spectrum. It wasn't soon after the crows remembered the transformation that it actually happened directly in front of them in snaps of tendons and peeling flesh. It was just like they remembered it. The man squealed in muscular howls as his face pushed into a snout. The crows were happy that their memory was so good. It stopped them from jumping out the line of trees and scattering into the sky. After a few moments, the man was beast and the change was over. The werewolf shook off its old body into steaming piles of miscellaneous meat. The crows wouldn't eat it. There was something sickly and wrong about the leftovers of this man. There, I'm done. I'm changed for the year. All I need is one meal. I just need to eat one time and I'll be good, the werewolf said. He crouched down like a spiked spring and snarled to himself over the water. He stuffed his mouth into the waves and drank vigorously. Becoming a monster was thirsty work. His esophagus clapped like some sort of stretched muscle. I just need to eat one person, just one. I shouldn't feel too horrible about it. I could be a devil every single day. I was born that way. Nothing made me different. I control it all the time except for in the fall. Then the stupid lake sings to me songs no one else can hear, the werewolf said. He brushed droplets off his nose with a giant claw. He could hear everything in the woods. People were moving along the paths that split up the lake. Animals chattered like random static. His nostrils picked up the smell of sweat from hunters and joggers. The werewolf stretched his body upwards in the shape of a comma and howled into the still sky. The clouds, as if they could move that fast, would have split apart to let the ghostly sound echo through. Instead, it bounced across the lake. Not a single leaf dared fall now that he was here. The werewolf quickly bounded off into the surrounding forest which lined the lake. It moved silently. The crows stood still. They knew it wouldn't take too long. After hours of gentle breezes, splashes of fish jumping on the lake's surface, and the occasional droll of a large truck blaring down the nearby highway, screams bit the air. It sounded like an out-of-tune chord from a derelict piano. It was a man screaming wildly. There were gunshots, too, 3 of them. Normally the crows would scatter against the gunpowder thunder. They knew the source of the strife. The screaming went silent after a few more seconds. It was very quiet, but it didn't last long. There was a crashing sound of broken underbrush. A heavy weight was being pulled through the forest. Eventually, the werewolf emerged with the hunter dressed in camouflage dangling out of his jaws. The man looked silly against the beast like he was a toy. The werewolf dropped him in front of the lake like it was a present for the water. "There, it's done for the year," the werewolf said in a grizzled cough. The hunter stirred slightly under his bloody clothes. The crows didn't move. They wouldn't dive down until the werewolf had passed out in the reeds. They knew better than to interfere with the feeding. "Help!" the man whispered amongst the grass. The werewolf stomped on him with his front paw. Bones buckled, the man screamed. "I just need one meal, that's it, just one," the werewolf said, leaning its face against the broken man. He ripped a square of flesh upwards off the hunter's back. It snapped apart in a white stretchy pull. Blood hit the trees. One of the crows cackled. What are you surprised? Tell me," the werewolf said. He threw a severed arm at the flock watching him. "You're hungry, aren't you? Aren't you interested in eating? I know you are," the werewolf said. The crows didn't move. They were glad they could fly away if they had to. Their silence and beady stares weighed down the monster. "What? Stop looking at me, I know it's wrong," the werewolf cried with a full mouth. The air smelled sick with blood. The sun was still afraid to come out. "It only happens once a year," the werewolf said. So that's it.